This has been a top talker today since the Cleveland Browns confirmed yesterday that they're looking at additional sites in Northeast Ohio outside of downtown for a potential new stadium.
That comes alongside reports that team owners Jimmy and Dee Haslam have purchased 176 acres of land in Brook Park. That, of course, is near Cleveland Hopkins International Airport. It seems everyone has an opinion on this matter. Folks were talking about this all day yesterday, including, of course, our very own, and you hear him in the background, Mike-Polk Jr.
Right now, I might be standing where the 50-yard line could be at the new Browns Stadium. You can almost feel it, can't you? Of course, right now it's just a big empty tract of land here in Brook Park, but since the Haslam Sports Group just bought 176 acres here, it's a pretty safe bet they're not planning on using it to convert it into a big paintball course. Though frankly, that would rule. Nope, what this tells us is that like a young Cleveland couple who just had their first child, the Browns are considering moving to the suburbs. Nothing is for certain, of course, but the math isn't hard. Brown Stadium, as it currently exists, is not great. It's old, it's cold, and it needs a major upgrade or total rebuild. The stadium lease expires in 2028, so something's gonna happen soon. All that's being negotiated now is precisely what will happen, where it will happen, and how much what happens is going to cost everybody. The Browns have been playing downtown since 1946, so if the team does move and the Brook Park Browns become a reality, that would obviously take some getting used to. But this is the way the league seems to be going. 12 of 32 NFL teams already play their home games in suburban municipalities. I've been to a few, and they're not really my cup of tea. Suburban stadiums feel sterile and disconnected from the personality of the city. But I'm also not so rigid that I couldn't suffer through having to watch my football team play in another building 10 minutes away from where I normally do, and without 60-knot Canadian ice winds attacking me from the lake. The good news for the Haslams is that either way, they win. If this move successfully provokes city officials to expedite the process of committing to a stadium plan with what the Haslam Group considers to be adequate taxpayer support, the Browns stay downtown and Cleveland helps foot a hefty portion of the bill for the revamp. If the city balks, then the Haslams can say, well, we gave them a chance, and then start constructing their own little football town in Brook Park, where, unlike in Cleveland, they will own all the property surrounding the stadium. In other words, much more autonomy and potential profit. To be clear, I don't begrudge the Haslam Group's move, and I hope that it's a step towards establishing some clarity on this stadium issue very soon. And whether they stay downtown or move to Brook Park, I personally think the best PR move that the Haslam Group could make would be to fund the entirety of the project themselves and not rely on taxpayers from one of the most impoverished major cities in America to subsidize their incredibly successful business. This is not me begrudging the success of the Haslams, and it's true. They've done a lot of good for Greater Cleveland. But it's important to remember that Greater Cleveland has treated them pretty nice too. The Haslams purchased the Browns back in 2012 for just over $1 billion. According to Forbes, the franchise is now worth more than $4.6 billion. So they're not exactly hurting for capital. And while it is common practice for taxpayers to pay for sports stadiums, it's certainly not required. For example, LA's new SoFi Stadium is not only the most expensive NFL stadium ever built, but was also entirely privately funded. But I recognize that's just a pipe dream and that we're all probably going to still end up on the hook paying for stadium escalators ourselves. But that's football in America, I guess. And I've repeatedly proven to be shameless in what I will endure in order to support this team, no matter what part of town they play in. This is unapologetic Brook Park Browns bro Mike Polk for 3 News.
I like that. Brook Park Browns bro Mike Polk. So a lot of interesting things in that. Obviously, he has the worth to do this on his own, and he would have the land around it, and he would build a little Brownstown that would probably include residential and certainly commercial and a lot of little shops and bars. And
Atlanta has
brings
that.
in a lot of money. Yeah,
for the Braves.
The SoFi out in LA has that as well. The point that Mike made, which is very interesting, is if you're a billionaire and you want to build this stadium for your team and it's going to cost $2 billion, how do you ask one of the most impoverished cities in the nation to foot the bill for $1 billion for that when he recently dropped hundreds of millions of dollars to buy an NBA team that competes with our Cleveland Cavaliers, the Milwaukee Bucks? It's not great looks. So I don't know how this thing plays out. I think there is a little game of chicken going on, and we'll see who wins, whether the downtown crowd wins or the suburban crowd wins. But
well, and the mayor said they are determined to keep it here. And with all of the plans downtown to connect the lakefront with downtown, what do you do with this big stadium then if it's not being used? Yeah, well, right now it's used about 10 days a year. My guess is they'd figure out a way to use it for a lot more days than that if there was something other than a football stadium. You would hope so. Yeah, okay.